what are the major challenges for operating licensing in India?
You're asking a very, very wide variety of questions. Okay. Okay, let's do that. Uh, Licensing in India is still at a very nascent stage. I mean, if you look at the business now, has been in India for almost 2 decades, but most of the companies even today are struggling. And the reason why they are struggling is because a lot of the government policies are still not conducive to the licensing industry. We still have a major issue with piracy. We still have a major issue on counterfeit products, and bodies like Lima and associations like Licensing Corner are doing a lot in terms of promoting the anti-piracy initiative. But still, it's a long, long way to go before we can actually say that licensing is on par with what happens in the US market or in the European markets for that matter. But things are changing. Things are changing very fast in the next 5 years or so. I think it's very critical. You would see a sea change of things happening in this market with a lot of international retailers getting in the market, governments getting more tuned to what's happening around with the problems of the licensees and the licensors. And definitely the licensors and licensees coming together and forming a lot of interactive sessions like what's happening here at the India Brand Licensing Summit. That opens up a lot of horizons for the business. So yes, definitely a lot of scope in the licensing business, which is going to happen in the times to come.
My next question would be, since AI has a huge international reach, which Indian animated character would you like to introduce in the global space, and any major reasons for it?
Yes, Animation International, we have around 17 offices all over Asia, Middle East and CIS. And as you probably all know that we actually own the rights for Doraemon across Asia and Middle East and the CIS regions. And we've actually worked over the last 3 decades to build the brand of Doraemon from scratch. If you ask me what Indian character, I wouldn't like to name any one of them. The reason being, most of the Indian characters, even today, are still pretty much local in their approach. There is no character as such which kind of can claim to be a global icon or an upcoming global icon. Having said so, I'm not saying that India doesn't have talent. I'm not saying that India doesn't have content that can match the international standards. I think definitely there's a lot of stuff happening now. There's a lot of international level content that is being showcased, produced. And over a period of time, I think at least in the next couple of years, we hopefully will see a character brand that will emerge from India, which will be available at a global scale. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that Animation International will be the first company to actually lay its hands on that. But yes, our search for a global icon emerging out of India continues even now.
Next is, I'll give you four choices, basically from 90s cartoon, and you have to tell me, if given a chance, which would you like to introduce in the Indian licensing and merchandising space and why? The choices are Scooby-Doo, Flintstone, Dexter, or Johnny Bravo.
I think Scooby-Doo, Flintstone, Dexter, and Johnny Bravo, all of them are great brands. Fantastic IPs, have very different target groups that they all target into. But considering the fact that kids is a very, very major market as far as the Indian licensing scene is concerned, I would say Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo, I think, is very cute. It's lovable. Kids would adore it. I think the need for fresh content to bring in, revive it, bring it into the market, and some fantastic product ideas. I mean, one can ideate about a million products around Scooby-Doo that can do really well. I think that's the brand that I would like to lay my hands on.
And last question would be, since we all are aware that Marvel Avengers like Dark Phoenix and Aquaman are going to release, like any collaboration or any item that we can see from AI in the near future?
Unfortunately, we don't deal with any of these studios. We don't work with Marvel, or we don't work with, I think, Disney. Aquaman is Disney, if I'm not wrong. We don't work with them. We have our own set of brands that we work around, which largely is led by Doraemon, Shinchan, Garfield, and Albert Einstein, Charlie Chaplin, as well as Hallmark Design Collection. So while I would love to work with brands that you've named, but unfortunately we don't have any alliances coming up with them. Though just for the records, we actually were the company that introduced Marvel in India. In 2005 to about 2010, we used to represent Marvel Comics in India as an agent, and we used to do some fantastic business with Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America at that point of time. And of course, after Disney's taken it over, it's taken on to a next level altogether. So while I would love to, but unfortunately, we don't have anything that's happening in those space. All right.